Hi guys, my name is Joe Gannon and welcome to my YouTube channel where I help you to maximize your LinkedIn content. Today's video is going to be about how to optimize your LinkedIn content. I'm going to be showing you 10 ways, little tips and tricks that you can apply to every bit of content you put out on LinkedIn. I've also created a content checklist for you guys, which is going to be in the description box. So you don't need to remember the 10 different things. This video is just going to be talking about why you should be implementing them on your content. So my first tip on how to optimize your LinkedIn content is to post your content at optimal times. Now, as historically LinkedIn has been a professional platform mainly for recruiters and people in the workplace, LinkedIn usually has followed the working pattern, which is a 9 to 5 typical job. For this reason, I found from my own experience of creating content that posting around 8:30 a.m, so just before 9 a.m, and after 5 p.m, so about 5:15 to 5:30 p.m, this would make sense because if somebody's working a 9 to 5 job, they can't really be on their phone on their laptop unless they're in like marketing industry or an industry that uses LinkedIn to promote their services. Of course, we all do check our phones and laptops and open tabs when we shouldn't do, but to get maximum engagement in your content, it's best to be posting content when you know someone can watch a video, they can read an article, or they can click on one of your posts. This video is going out during the coronavirus pandemic, so things are a little bit different with a lot of people working from home being on lockdown. But still, I have found for my own content that posting in the morning, somewhere between 8:30 a.m. and 9 a.m. works best for me. There always seems to be a spike of engagement around lunchtime, which again makes sense if people can have access to their phones and they can check LinkedIn. As LinkedIn is still up and coming as a content platform, the behavior isn't yet there that unless you're a regular user on LinkedIn, you don't jump on LinkedIn when you've got a spare moment. You might scroll on Instagram or you might check your Twitter. Of course, in these videos, I really don't want to give you guys just cookie cutter advice. It's definitely going to vary between industries and it's going to vary on your target audience. So what I would say is actually best to test for yourself and your audience what time is the best time to post. So for 1 week, say you're posting 3 different posts, why don't you post one in the morning, one at lunchtime, and one in the afternoon? Of course, if you can increase the sample size, so maybe you can post more times in a week, or you can do this test over a period of say a month, that's going to be more accurate because obviously it's going to be different factors for why someone engages with a bit of content and why someone doesn't. Because it could just be that one content was significantly better, more people engage with it. To take the guesswork out of this, I definitely recommend doing a free trial of Shield Analytics. On Shield, you can see the date and time of your content. So you can see if there's any correlation with the time you posted for the best performing posts, and perhaps when was your worst performing content posted. For me, this actually gave me evidence that posting before 9 a.m. suited best my audience and got my most engagement. Because I've tested these sort of things. I've posted at 6 p.m, 7 p.m, and 8 p.m. And from that, I've kind of found what works for me, and that's what I'd recommend you guys to do. My next tip on how to optimize your LinkedIn content is to really focus on the first few lines of the text of your post. When somebody stops and engages on your post, they're giving you their time, so we cannot take this for granted. If someone's just scrolling through their post, you have to give them the reason to stop and to watch your video or to read your article. What I like to do is after I've written my first draft of a bit of content, I really like to stop and consider what's the main message that I want to convey, and perhaps what are the 1 to 2 lines, if somebody was only going to take away that message, what would that be? As you can see with my content here, I really like to capture the attention of people in the first line of text. I see this as the title of the content. If you can hook somebody in the first line, you've got a much higher chance that someone will actually consume your content. It could be the case that only you know that your content's good. If somebody's scrolling through their feed and there's so much noise in the feed, you need to give them the reason to click on your post. And if it's not clear what the post is about or why it might be of interest to them, they're not going to stop and click. Consider what posts you stop for in your feed and what posts you just scroll past. My next tip is to include your main message early on in the content. And that does kind of link into the second tip, which is to kind of hook your audience as soon as you can in the first line. If you've posted a 2-minute video and the best bit of knowledge is at the end of the video, chances are that the majority of people are not actually going to get to the end of the video to consume that information. So what you should always do is after recording your video or after writing your article is to actually stop and think, well, realistically, if a stranger came across this content, are they going to get to the end? So what you can do is you can make sure your main message features early on in the text, the article. With videos, you can take the snippet of the best bit, put it at the start, which is what Gary Vaynerchuk always does. This allows you to show your audience the best bit when they're most engaged, and then what you can do is you can play the rest of the clip when they're warm and they're ready and they're interested to get to the main bit of that video. The beauty of writing up content is that you can obviously copy and paste it and you can move it around. So like I said, I like to take a moment, I like to take a pause, and I like to ask myself certain questions like, if I came across this bit of content, would I read it? Is it of interest? Is it clearly of interest to me? Have they told me why I should be interested in the content? And is the main message clear early on in the content? One of my later tips is talking about the space we do actually have available for different bits of content. That's really important to kind of maximize the engagement rate on your content. Now, some of you might think this tip's a bit OTT, but you only have certain amounts of space depending on what type of content you're posting. So it's different for text, carousels, images, and videos. So for example, for a text post, you have 5 lines of spacing. Now obviously, how many words actually show in your post will be different depending on the device the reader is using. For example, if they're reading it on their phone or if they're reading it on their laptop. This is important to know and ties into the other points, because you can hook your audience early on, give them a bit of a main message and really pique their interest and give them a desire to read the rest of your content. The way I like to do it is to have a title and then to lead people in with enticing text. This is why having a banner design for your videos, where the video fits into a banner which can have a title, can allow you to have more space and to give the watcher more of a reason to click. My 5th tip is to tag or mention any businesses or people that feature in your content. So if you collaborated with someone or if you filmed at a location, be sure to tag a business or a person in the post. Why? Because this increases the likelihood that they're going to engage with the content. And as we know with organic reach, if they comment on the post, it's going to show that content to their audience as well. This is a really good way to kind of maximize the engagement of your posts and to make sure as many relevant people as possible see the post. Sometimes LinkedIn can be a bit fiddly with the tag feature, so perhaps you could tag someone and after posting the post, go back and edit the content and just re-tag them. Sometimes you have to do that. It's just because LinkedIn is still figuring things out. I'm going to be doing more videos about the LinkedIn algorithm, but in my view, and to really kind of summarize, I think you should be using as many LinkedIn features as possible. So when you tag somebody, when you use hashtags, you're signaling to LinkedIn that you know what they're looking for and you're using their features. In a way, this is advertising for LinkedIn, because if you mention someone or use a hashtag, you're showing people that they should be doing the same thing. When influencers were the first people to be able to use polls in their Instagram stories, Instagram favored them because essentially they're advertising to their audience that this is a new feature that Instagram has. I like to take this approach when I'm optimizing my LinkedIn content. I like to stop and I like to think, if somebody who works for LinkedIn came across this post, am I ticking enough boxes and would it impress them? Because any content favored by the algorithm is going to be shown to more people, which will increase your reach, your engagement, and the amount of traffic you're sending to your profile. I hope you guys are finding this video useful so far. If you are, please do leave a like, because it's a fairly new channel and your engagement really does help me. And of course, please do say hi in the comment section. I love to get some conversations going with you guys. Please do feel free as well to connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, so when you're optimizing your LinkedIn content, it is again important to pause and think, are you providing as much value to your audience as you could be? An approach I have with my LinkedIn content is I like to try and aim that somebody will leave my content in a better place. They've taken knowledge or they've learned something new. And I think that's a really good place to start with your content. Your content should be about your audience and not necessarily about you. Of course, you can tell stories and share your experiences, but there should always be a takeaway message that provides value to the reader. Because like I said, they could be doing anything right now and their time really is precious. So make sure you're always providing value to your audience to really optimize your LinkedIn content. So I do have a video which is going to appear on the screen now, which is my complete guide on everything you need to know about LinkedIn hashtags. But very shortly for this video, just optimize your LinkedIn content by using 3 hashtags. LinkedIn tell us to use 3 hashtags. We should always do what the platform tell us, because this means that our content will be favored in the algorithm, which means it'll be shown to more people and we'll be flagging up to LinkedIn that we're a good quality content creator on the platform. So don't forget, any resources I've mentioned are going to be in the description box, including my content checklist for you guys to go and download to include these 10 tips. So my 8th tip on how to optimize your LinkedIn content is to always include a call to action at the end of your content. Whether it's a text post, an image post, an article, or a video, at the end of the content, if someone's got to the end, if they've read the end of your post or they've watched the whole of your video and they've got to the end, your audience is warm. They believe in your message and they enjoy the content that you create. So why not direct them onto another bit of content or an article you've written or even your website? This is really the perfect opportunity to capitalize on 2 things. One, to even give even more value to your audience. So after they've engaged with your content and they're warm and they've enjoyed the value that you've given in your first post, why not go above and beyond and direct them to background reading or another video that you know they're going to enjoy. Second, it's a great opportunity to generate traffic to your personal blog, your website, or any services that you offer. In the comment section, I like to keep conversations going by asking anyone who comments and just showing a genuine interest in that person. I also think it's a great opportunity to kind of treat LinkedIn as a YouTuber does. So on YouTube, your goal is to give as much value as you can. And it's common that in the description box, after doing the research for a video, you'll give people different links to things that they might find interesting. So I like to do this on LinkedIn. If you don't have an obvious place to direct traffic to, just say to them, direct message me if you have any questions, and I'd love to connect with you guys. That still shows that you care about your audience and you value that they've taken the time to consume of your content. So this leads into my next point on how to optimize your LinkedIn content, and that is to provide additional resources in the comment section. So maybe your initial post was inspired by a blog article or a podcast. So for example, I like to listen to podcasts at the Tim Ferriss Show, and if I came across that I enjoyed, I might write a LinkedIn post about it and then add on top my original thoughts and what it meant to me. So if somebody liked that content, they're obviously quite like-minded and would appreciate knowing where the source of that information was from. Most people don't do this on LinkedIn, but I think it's a really good opportunity to nurture your content. So when someone comments on your post, you should be asking them a question back, and you should be really trying to engage them to talk more. The comment section in a post is an extension of your post. There's more space for you to show your expertise and to really develop relationships with your target audience. Okay guys, my last tip on how to optimize your content is to make sure you reply to any comments in your posts in the first 1 to 2 hours that your post went out. Like I said, I'm going to do lots of in-depth videos about the algorithm, but one thing to know is that LinkedIn values early engagement. When you post a bit of content, LinkedIn is figuring out whether the bit of content is quality and quality enough to show more of your audience. So early engagement is critical. Getting early likes and comments on your post is really, really important. So therefore, you should definitely be getting back to anyone who engages on your post in the first 1 to 2 hours that it is posted. I like to see this as nurturing the post. So when you put content out, do keep a watchful eye and make sure you get back to people, because you're also showing that you're active on that content. I don't know about you, but if I scrolled past a bit of content and I can see that there's neglected comments, I probably wouldn't comment because I think that person's not going to take the time to get back to me, so it would just be literally talking into thin air. It's important to remember that LinkedIn's algorithm is a machine and it's not human beings who look through every bit of content. So when we know that things like using 3 hashtags and getting early engagement on posts is important, you should be doing this in all of your content. Yet the majority of us, I would say, still don't do that on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for watching my 10 ways on how to optimize your LinkedIn content. So guys, let me know in the comments which tip you liked the most, and perhaps which tip you're going to implement and try to implement straight away with your LinkedIn content. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It's really good to hear your feedback, and it really helps me with my channel to grow, so I can produce more videos and give more value to you guys. I have a really in-depth video on my channel, which is the complete guide on LinkedIn hashtags. I have a fun Q&A with Andrew Heathcote, another LinkedIn content creator, and I have lots of other videos on how to optimize your process for creating LinkedIn content to really make it time efficient so you can produce high volume, high quality content on LinkedIn, which will increase your reach, maximize your engagement, and make your time on the platform of LinkedIn a lot more enjoyable. I hope this has been useful and it's been good LinkedIn content help. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in another video.